going to try to do integers today. We're going to just recap some integers. So this is about positive and negative numbers. Okay, I'm going to show you two number lines, one horizontal and one vertical. Okay, so you do need to be familiar with this so that you're ready for the next lesson. Okay, so we have our horizontal. Notice that 0 is in the middle. You don't, of course, in a number line, nothing ever always starts at 0. But on the number line, 0 is in the middle. To the right of 0 is positives. And then to the left are negative numbers. And think of it as this. If 0 was your mirror, okay, and this is the or if you want to get fancy, symmetry line, okay, you have 1 on the right side and -1 being the opposite. You have -2, like 2 spaces away from 0, and then +2 on the opposite side of 0. So positive and negatives are always opposite of each other. And it's the same thing for vertical, okay? So let's say we have the center of it being 0. Going up is positive, and then going down is negative. Now, this is very familiar with thermometers. Okay, so thermometers is like we have 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, that's cold, but it's hotter than 0 degrees. Now, every time you hear -5 degrees, that's even colder. Okay, so this is the thermometer version. Now, if we're talking about value, okay, on horizontal line, the more the numbers to the left of it, the less of the value. And if we're talking about vertical line, the lower it is, the more towards the bottom, the lower the value. Okay, so let's talk about opposites again. So if we're talking about opposite, -1 is opposite of +1. -1, +1. Notice that they are the same distance from 0. Okay, same with 2 is opposite of -2. Now, if we want to get technical, because we talked about fractions and decimals before, let's say we have 1.5, 1 5/10. Of course, the opposite is my grammar's so off. Okay, is the opposite of -1.5. Okay, so if we're talking about visually, here's 0. Let's talk about 1.5. We know 1.5 is the same thing as 1.5. Therefore, that's between 1 and 2. So let's mark that over here. If we're saying that it's the opposite of -1.5, well, that means it's the same distance from 0. So 1.5 is 1.5 from 0 to the right. Therefore, negative is the opposite, 1.5 to the left. Okay, so all positive and negatives. And then you can see that since -1.5 is to the far left, it is a lesser value than 0. Think of it as money. Okay, negatives could mean that someone owes money. And positive could mean that someone gains money. Okay, and someone that owes money definitely needs help. So therefore, they should be first to be taken care of. So that's why they're first if we're talking about least to greatest. Okay, if we're talking about over here, like a thermometer, okay, a real life situation that I've seen is that it's actually used for elevators. So in China and Italy, they actually say ground floor is 0. And then second floor is actually 1. And then third floor is actually 2. It's confusing to us because it's out of our norm, but if you know this one very well, it makes perfect sense. Because below 0 is -1, which is basement 1. And we use B1 on the elevators, but if we're talking about mathematically, this makes total sense for an elevator. Hey, so if I want to put these numbers in order, okay, let's say we want to put an example. Example, two greatest. Okay, and I'm gonna throw in like 5 numbers, okay? So let's say we have 3, -4, okay, 0, let's do -1.2, and let's throw in 1. Okay, so if we're talking about money, the person that owes the most goes first. So therefore, this person owes $4. They go first. So this is 1. So the largest negative goes first because it's the least value, okay? And the next one would be -1.2. 0 is better than owing. Having nothing's better than owing, okay? Oh, I just noticed. Let me scoot up a little bit. Okay, and then next one is 1, and then 3. Okay, so if you have any questions, make sure to comment. Make sure to send me an email if you need to. Okay, so be ready for the next video.